Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to another spine-chilling episode of our ghost story series. Tonight, I have a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. A tale filled with terror, suspense, and unimaginable horrors. Let's dive into the haunting experience that unfolded before me, making every moment feel like a pulse-pounding nightmare. It was a night cloaked in darkness, the wind howling like a banshee, and the sky roiling with storm clouds ready to burst. Lightning slashed through the blackness, turning night into day for fleeting moments. In this tempest, I stood at the entrance of an eerie mansion, shrouded in a white raincoat, the rain dripping from my hood, sending icy chills down my spine. The door creaked open to reveal a stern-looking woman, her face devoid of emotion, dressed in a simple but old-fashioned maid's uniform. "You must be Yvonne," she stated in a monotone voice. I nodded, feeling the weight of the storm and the mystery within these walls. The maid, whose name was Hongma, motioned me inside. "Make yourself comfortable. The master will be down shortly." With that, she disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone in the grand yet somber living room. The room was dimly lit, filled with opulent furniture that seemed out of place in the oppressive gloom. My eyes were drawn to a particular object, a modest-looking stone statue of a bodhisattva. I recognized it as a rare opal carving from the depths of Lopno, worth a fortune. Just as I marveled at its beauty, a deafening thunderclap jolted me back to my grim reality. My mission here was not one of admiration, but of dire urgency. Recently, a series of gruesome murders had shaken the city. High-ranking officials and wealthy individuals were found brutally dismembered, their bodies left in grotesque displays. The killer left no clues, no fingerprints, nothing but sheer terror. As part of a covert investigative team, it was my job to delve into these macabre mysteries. "Yvonne, you're here!" a voice called out, snapping me from my thoughts. I turned to see my cousin Lucas descending the grand staircase. The sight of him made my heart sink. Once a picture of health and confidence, he now looked gaunt, his eyes hollow and bloodshot. "Lucas, what happened to you?" I asked, my voice trembling with concern. Lucas, one of the city's wealthiest men, had been living in fear for days. 3 nights ago, he had awoken to find a chilling message scrawled in blood on his window. Blood for blood. The same ominous words that had preceded the deaths of the others. "I can't sleep, Yvonne. I'm so scared," he confessed, his voice quivering with dread. "You have to help me. I don't want to die." "Lucas, we'll find whoever is doing this. I promise," I reassured him, though my own heart pounded with anxiety. He nodded, seemingly comforted by my presence, and soon exhaustion overcame him. He fell into a deep sleep on the couch, leaving me to watch over him through the stormy night. As I sat there, the thunder and lightning relentless, my thoughts drifted to the connection between the victims. All of them had links to a famous singer named Yvette, and a recent trip they had taken to Yunnan. The pieces of this dark puzzle were scattered, but I was determined to fit them together. Morning broke, bringing a temporary respite from the storm. Lucas slept soundly, a small comfort amidst the chaos. Hongma prepared breakfast, her presence silent and eerie. I contacted my team, sharing updates and seeking new leads. As evening approached, Lucas awoke, his spirits somewhat lifted after a good night's rest. We retreated to the study, a room lined with ancient books and relics. "Lucas, I need to know everything about your relationship with Yvette and what happened in Yunnan," I urged him. He hesitated, memories of recent horrors flickering in his eyes. "It all started with Yvette," he began. his voice barely above a whisper. We were infatuated with her. Her voice, her beauty, she was mesmerizing. We thought it was just a harmless fascination, but it turned into something darker. On our trip to Yunnan, we visited an old temple. That's where things started to go wrong. He described the temple, a decrepit structure hidden deep in the mountains, rumored to be cursed. They had laughed off the warnings of the locals, their arrogance blinding them to the dangers. Inside, they found a forbidden room, filled with ancient artifacts and a shrine to a forgotten deity. We took some items, thinking they were just souvenirs. But ever since we returned, strange things started happening. Yvette was the first to fall ill, then the others. Now, it's coming for me. A chill ran down my spine. The curse was real, and it was claiming its victims one by one. I had to act quickly to unravel this mystery and save my cousin from a gruesome fate. Lucas, we need to find a way to lift this curse, I said, my resolve hardening. Tell me everything about the items you took from the temple. Maybe there's a way to return them or appease the spirits. He nodded, desperation in his eyes. There was a jade amulet, a scroll with strange symbols, and a small box sealed shut. I still have them upstairs. I followed him to the attic, a dusty and cluttered space filled with his collections. He unearthed the items, each one radiating a palpable sense of dread. As I examined them, a sudden gust of wind slammed the attic door shut. We were plunged into darkness, the only sound our ragged breaths. We need to go back to that temple, I whispered, the weight of our task pressing down on me. It's the only way to end this. We made our way back down from the attic, the storm outside reflecting the tempest of fear within our hearts. Lucas clutched the cursed items, his hands trembling. There was no time to waste. I called for a car to take us to the airport. Our destination, Yunnan. The flight was tense, the plane buffeted by turbulence that seemed a harbinger of the trials ahead. Lucas remained silent, clutching the jade amulet as if it were a lifeline. I spent the flight poring over the scroll, trying to decipher the ancient symbols. They seemed to twist and shift on the page, eluding my understanding. We landed in Yunnan under a heavy sky. The locals eyed us warily, their faces etched with unspoken warnings. We hired a guide, an old man named Lee, who led us deep into the mountains. As we approached the temple, the air grew thick with an oppressive energy, each step heavier than the last. The temple stood as Lucas described, decrepit and menacing. The guide refused to enter, muttering prayers as he handed us a lantern. "You must go alone," he said, his eyes filled with fear. "Only those who disturb the spirits can set things right." With a final look at each other, Lucas and I entered the temple. The interior was dark and cold, the air heavy with the scent of decay. We made our way to the forbidden room, the lantern casting eerie shadows on the walls. There, in the flickering light, the shrine loomed, its ancient idols glaring at us with eyes of stone. "We need to return these items," I said, my voice echoing in the silence. "Place them back where you found them." Lucas nodded, stepping forward to return the amulet, the scroll, and the sealed box. As he did, a low rumble filled the air, the ground beneath us vibrating. Suddenly, the sealed box flew open, revealing a withered hand clutching a blood-red crystal. The air grew colder, the shadows around us deepening. "What's happening?" Lucas cried, panic rising in his voice. "What have we done?" Before I could respond, the ground split open, and spectral figures emerged, their eyes burning with malice. They were the spirits of those wronged. their voices a cacophony of anger and sorrow. They reached for us with ghostly hands, their touch icy and painful. "We have to appease them!" I shouted over the wails. "We must atone for the wrongs committed!" Desperation fueling our actions, we knelt before the shrine, pleading for forgiveness. The spirits loomed closer, their wrath palpable. I grabbed the blood-red crystal, holding it high. "We return what was stolen. We beg for your mercy." The crystal began to glow, the light intensifying until it filled the room. The spirits paused, their anger giving way to a sorrowful calm. One spirit, an old woman with eyes full of sadness, stepped forward. "You must complete the ritual," she intoned. "Only then will the curse be lifted." She instructed us to mix our blood with the crystal, creating a bond of atonement. With trembling hands, Lucas and I made small cuts, allowing our blood to drip onto the crystal. The moment our blood touched it, the crystal shattered, releasing a blinding light. When the light faded, the spirits were gone, the room eerily quiet. The oppressive energy lifted, replaced by a sense of peace. "It's over," Lucas whispered, relief washing over him. "We're free." We left the temple, the weight of the curse finally lifted. The guide, waiting outside, greeted us with a knowing nod. "The spirits have been appeased," he said. "You have done well." The journey back to the city was a blur, exhaustion taking over. Lucas began to recover, the color returning to his face. The nightmares that had plagued him seemed to dissipate, replaced by a newfound sense of gratitude. Back in the city, life slowly returned to normal. The deaths stopped, and the fear that had gripped the community began to fade. Lucas and I remained close, the ordeal having forged an unbreakable bond between us. He took my advice to heart, dedicating himself to helping others and making amends for his past actions. And so, dear viewers, we come to the end of this harrowing tale, a story that reminds us of the dangers of arrogance and the power of redemption. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the unknown. Remember, the past can haunt us in ways we never expect, but with courage and compassion, we can find our way back to the light. Stay tuned for more chilling stories, and as always, stay safe and stay curious. Good night.